What's going on, you guys, man? Got another video for you guys. Another controversial one. I haven't seen it fully through. Like, I started it the other day just for like 1-2 minutes and didn't get to see it. So you guys are gonna watch it with me. As always, like and subscribe, share. I'll do it for you. You do it for me. Let's get it on. Oh man. All right.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
I think of marriage is a certain thing.
One of my favorite channels.
Which is the context for procreation, for the building of the nuclear family.
What about people that get married that don't have kids? Are you opposed to that? What if they get married, they decide, you know what, we don't need kids. I'm going to get fixed. You get your tubes tied. Let's travel the world.
Well, what do you mean am I opposed to it? I mean, I think that every married couple should be open to life.
But what if they don't want to? Are you opposed to them being married? If marriage is only for procreation and to bond a family together, what about people that are deeply in love that never want to have children?
Are there people like that out there? Man and woman get married, don't want to have children, and just don't. I mean, I don't think I've ever met anybody like that or a couple like that, unless one of them couldn't have children, like literally couldn't have children. So I mean, if that's what y'all, you know what I'm saying, I don't know. Comment down here.
I don't think it's not only procreation, but that is one of the fundamental definitional aspects of it. Of course, there's more to marriage just than that.
And what about people that are infertile? They fall in love and they realize that they can have babies. And they don't really necessarily want to adopt. Is that okay for them to be married? Because then by definition, marriage falls into a completely different thing. Because then it's a bond of love. It's a union of love.
Sure. I mean, that doesn't change the nature of marriage, though. It's a little bit like I say that. What's the definition of a woman? Well, a woman is someone who, by her nature, can conceive children in her womb and bear children. And then the response is always, well, what about women who are infertile? Does that destroy your definition of woman? And it doesn't, because it's still a woman's nature to bear children. Not every woman will, and there will be disease and infertility and old age and all these things that will preclude that. But it's still of her nature to do so. And I would say the same thing for marriage. I mean, it is natural in a marriage for procreation to occur. It's not always going to happen in reality, though. But that's still one of the natural functions of marriage. And married couples who can't conceive children, there are other ways to be parents, like adoption, for example,
if they want to. Right. Sure. But if people want to be married and don't want to ever have children, are you opposed to them being married?
Well, I wouldn't advocate a law that would prevent it.
But would it change the definition of what their marriage is to you because they don't want to have a family? They just want to have a loving bond?
I think this would be a couple that is rejecting one of the fundamental aspects of.
I already don't agree with dude in glasses. Like, I know, like traditionally, things, man and wife back in the day, even today, to have babies and all that stuff. But he's pretty much saying if you don't give birth, have babies, then what is it to be married? Then what's marriage? Like, why is it? You know what I'm saying? He's pretty much saying the laws of nature is to get married and have children. Like, you can't even. I mean, that's what I get from him. Let me know.
Marriage, and they should be they should be open to life. I would hope that in the future they would be, but
isn't that just a personal choice? I mean, you can have a very fulfilling life if you just follow your pursuits and your dreams and your interests, and you find someone that shares those interests with you, and you share time together. It's very fulfilling and loving.
Yeah, it's a personal choice, and that I'm not advocating for like a law that says that you if you're married you have to have X number of kids.
But then why are you opposed to two gay people doing that?
Oh,
well, because again, it's not about choice. It's about what this institution, marriage is an institution, and what is it, and what purpose does it serve? And I do not agree with tearing down or changing this definition, especially because the people who have changed the definition haven't come up with a new one. So they say, well, that's not what marriage is. So for thousands of years, we said marriage is the procreative union. And then we had the other side who came along and said, well, it's not that. Okay, well then, like, what is it exactly? And I know you said, well, it's people who love each other. Two people love each other. Well, but then why two people? Why do they have to love each other? All these kinds of questions. You get into what if
this man obviously is thinking way too much about this. Like, he is way too much into this. Like, I want my kids to be married and have children with the opposite sex. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't mean that I'm going to, like, tell my kids that don't ever come back to my house and none of that. You know what I'm saying? And but this guy is like, no. I mean, his kids is gonna be like, they're gonna leave and they're gonna probably never come to his house. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't tell me who to marry. You can't, you can't tell me I have to have children, basically. Like, you would think that's gonna happen, but if I don't want to, I'm not gonna have to. And that's not gonna go against anybody, bro. As long as you love that person, who cares what the hell this nigga talking about?
They're in the same family. What if brothers and sisters want to marry? And I know every time that comes up, the advocates for gay marriage will say, well, that's a slippery slope argument. That's a fallacious. But it's actually not. It's like we're trying to get to what do you even think this institution is now, since you've rejected out what we were saying it was. And I've never found a compelling definition. And any definition offered, it's like, well, what's even the point then? Why do we even need this now?
I just don't see how a gay marriage in any way damages a straight marriage. I don't see it at all. It doesn't make any sense to me. It just seems to me that people want to be. Look, if you wanted to look at logic, especially in our modern society, which is pretty fucked when it comes to relationships, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 50% of all marriages end in divorce anyway. They don't make it. I don't know if anything would damage marriage and damage the institution of marriage is the option of divorce. I don't think gay people and gay people getting married in any way, shape, or form changes a bond that you have with your wife. It's just called marriage. It's a human invented thing. If we decide that gay people can get married too, I just don't see how it damages anything. I don't think it tears down the definition of marriage in any way. It just opens up the possibility.
I know for a fact, 100%, it doesn't bother me. It does not bother me, who you look like other people, and with like I said, with my children, you know what I'm saying? But you get over those things, man. People are human. They're going to love who they want to love, and they're just going to go through what they want to do. As long as they love each other and they take care of each other, man, who cares, bro? It don't damage me. It don't damage my marriage. You know what I'm saying? Like, if two people, even if the opposite sex, don't want to have children, then that's their business. Like, dude in glasses tripping, bro.
Possibility that people who are gay won't be discriminated against.
Yeah, I don't think that a gay couple existing directly impacts. There's a gay couple and wherever, and I'm with my wife in our house. Like, obviously, right. There's not. But I'm not talking about on the individual level. I'm talking about on the societal level.
Right.
I would agree that divorce, especially this no-fault divorce, rampant divorce, I don't think it's as high as 50%. I know that's often quoted. I'm not sure where that comes from, but it is high. It's too high. And
Chris Rock has a great joke about that. He said those are just the people with the courage to get out. He's like, how many cowards stay?
But it's also.
Yeah, man, but the guys get the I don't even want to go into that, man, but just make sure whoever you marry, you're gonna be and don't cheat on her, take care of her, you're gonna love her forever, you know what I'm saying? You guys gonna have your ups and downs, but avoid that divorce if you're gonna go down, you're gonna walk her down the aisle and have her go walk down the aisle and marry you. You better have your shit together, man.
Also true that the advocates for what we call now traditional marriage, which I just call marriage, but the advocates for traditional marriage put themselves at a disadvantage by especially in the churches, like allowing this rampant divorce to occur, and then you've already sort of given up on some marriage is supposed to be monogamous and permanent, as well as procreative. Well, you've given up monogamy and permanence, and so now it's not. That's two of the three legs gone, and so now this assault was waged on the procreative part of it, and it was difficult to withstand it because the institution had already been weakened. So I agree with you there, but my answer to that is to try to reinforce what marriage is, not to just give up on it entirely. And I still think you're left with this question of, like, if marriage is not what I'm saying it is, then why do we even need it? What's the point? I mean, you're saying it's a man-made institution.
Yes.
But you're also, like, the way that you're presenting it, it's a totally meaningless institution. So
No.
you don't need it at all.
No, it's not meaningless. It's because it means something to the people that get married.
So it's just a subjective, symbolic thing. I mean, what?
Yeah.
So if you're
Kind of what it is. Look, there's a massive responsibility when you're married and when you have children to keep your family together and you raise and keep everybody happy and healthy. And there's great reward to that.
yeah.
But it doesn't always work out. It's people change. People are fucked up. It doesn't always work. And so I don't think it should be outlawed because 50% of the people fall apart. Just like I don't think it has any effect whatsoever on a straight couple if a gay couple decides that they want to make it official.
And that's you overly religious people. And look, man, I was raised religious. I'm just gonna tell you guys something short before I start back. I was raised religious, plus my father, he was, they from the 60s, and from that beyond, and from that to like the 90s, things started changing when it came to, like, people being gay and all that. But when I was growing up, man, I was taught to hate gays, man. I was taught that was a no-no. And even though I wouldn't want it for my kids, I wouldn't shame them. They grow up and they choose who they love. You know what I'm saying? And I've met gay people. I've known some, and it's just, man, we all people, man. We all people, bro. It's not gonna affect my marriage. So why should it affect you? They're not in your bedroom, bro.
And that's what it is to them. It gives them a feeling that they're accepted and appreciated and that they're not discriminated against because they happen to be homosexual.
So, well, what you're articulating to me is the damage that's done by gay marriage to the institution of marriage.
But how is it done? How is that in any way damaged straight people?
Because we are making the institution meaningless.
But it's not meaningless.
Well, but
it's very meaningful to the people that have it.
Subjective, symbolic, and it's about your own personal feelings.
Isn't it, though?
Well, no, I would say that it's not. If
it's not subjective and it's not symbolic,
it codifies and protects and gives a name to a thing that actually exists, which are man, woman couples creating people, creating babies,
but not always.
Right, but that's still the nature of the union. So,
but what are the percentage of people today that are married that don't have children? I bet it's pretty high amongst heterosexuals.
Probably.
Is there something wrong with that?
I think there is something wrong with that. I think there is something wrong with getting married and saying, oh, we're not going to have any kids at all.
But why is there something wrong with that if someone's personal choice? Why is it wrong that two people are like, I am deeply committed to work and I don't want to sacrifice any of my career and I don't want to ruin a kid because I'm constantly at the office, but that's where I get deep satisfaction.
And speaking of that, I always wanted to have children, but I had them way too young, man. I'm going to admit it. And it was tough. So if somebody wants to wait, more power to them. You want to get the money together. You want to finish your school. You want to see what it's like to be married first. You know what I'm saying? Shit, man. I had kids way before I got married. And it's tough, man. I know Joe holding his shit together not to slap shit out of dude. Like, shut the fuck up.
And that's what I'm focused on. And the woman says, that's great because I don't want children either. I really am attached to my interests and my career and what I like to do. That's not damaging your relationship with your wife and your family.
Yeah,
I certainly don't think of it as a threat to my marriage or my family.
Yeah, it is a personal choice.
Right, but shouldn't people be allowed to make those personal choices? Like, isn't that a fundamental aspect of what it means to be American, to have that freedom?
Well, right, yeah, but right now we're not talking about what people are allowed to do. I'm not saying that.
We're talking about marriage, gay marriage.
Yeah.
Okay, we were just discussing straight couples who choose
Straight
not
couples
to have kids.
choose. That's also a personal freedom issue,
Right.
isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm not saying that,
God,
that straight
dude
couples
don't
should
like
be
them
legally required to have
heterosexual
kids.
and not
but
having
if
kids,
you're
or
asking
gay
me,
and can't have
do I
kids.
think it's the right choice to just get married and choose not to have kids ever? I do not think that that's the right choice. It's their choice, but people can make choices that are wrong.
Get married to her and start effing right now. Get her down. You dumb motherfucker.
And you can disagree.
How is it wrong if they have a fulfilling and wonderful life together with
so
that choice?
retarded,
if their thing is that they just want to have a bond between the two of them,
Right
to just
now.
like take it to the next level, let everybody know like we are married. If I die, my money's going to go to Helen. And if Helen dies, I'm going to mourn her because she was my wife and now I'll be a widower. Like, to some people, that distinction gives them peace and security and makes them feel better about the relationship, that they're both so committed that they've legally signed documents that say that they're bound by law and under the eyes of God or whatever you believe in.
Yeah, they're able to make that choice, but I think you're still rejecting one of the purposes of marriage. And in the scenario that you just outlined, you're also deciding to live a really self-centered life. You're saying,
But what if you're not? What if your work is very charitable? What if it benefits humanity in a deep way? What if you spend a lot of time doing, healthcare work and social work, and you're deeply committed to your community? It's not selfish at all. You're just dedicating your time to something other than raising new human beings. But you're dedicating your life to enhancing other human beings that are around you.
That's a hypothetical.
It is a hypothetical, but so is yours, right?
Yeah, but I think most of
Look, everybody's purpose in life is God put us here, whether you believe in him or not. Put us here for a certain job to do, man. And some of these people, they come and they're born and they help out, man. They just their calling, man. And you can't fault them for that. Yeah. Go get married.
the people that choose like we're not going to have kids, and the rate of those rates are declining.
I just think.
And the age when people first have kids is also going up, and all of that.
Yeah.
And most of the people that are making these choices, I don't think it's because they're involved in charity work. I do think that it is more the scenario you outlined in the first time around, which is just like, well, this is what I'm doing. I have my job. I don't want to give it up.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff.
But don't you think that people should have the freedom to live their life in that way? I think human beings vary widely, in a huge way. And I think there's some human beings that find a very fulfilling life just reading books and traveling and experiencing different things and seeing art and doing whatever the fuck.
And that's what brings me to, man, I wish I would have done that, man. For real, man. I was just a horn dog, and I wish I would have done that, man. If I could rewind back the hands of time.
They want to do, and they don't necessarily have to have kids to live a fulfilling life that way. And if they choose to do that with someone who they have a loving bond with and who they get married to, I don't think it's a bad thing that they don't want to have kids.
Well, I guess we have to, maybe we're running into a question of now you get to the real fundamental
I
questions.
think it's a fundamental freedom thing.
Yeah, we're not disagreeing, I guess, on the freedom aspect of it, because again, I'm not saying that you should be required to have kids.
But you're imposing your sensibilities and what you think is important in life to other people. But everybody has a different idea of what's important in life without hurting anyone. The thing is, like, what I'm saying is these people that are married, that don't have children, they're not harming anyone. They're not harming these unborn children that they never have. They're not harming anyone. And it doesn't affect your relationship with your family and your marriage at all.
Yeah, but I'm not imposing myself on them or harming them by answering a question about how I feel about their choices.
Right, but nor are gay people doing that to you.
I think the harm comes from, on a societal level, when we start breaking down these basic central institutions like the institution of the family and of marriage, that's where the harm comes from. And the more that people believe, the more that we build a society where it's believed that marriage is objectively meaningless, right? It's entirely subjective. It's just about making you feel better. The more that we build a society like that, I think that's where the harm comes in. The worse it is, and people are going to reject marriage, and that means more. Fewer kids are being born. Also, more kids are being born in a context where they don't have that stable family structure. So the harm definitely comes. It may not be this immediate, connect the dots thing, but and we can already see that.
Yeah, well, when I was growing up, that's how I was raised, man, and that's how I thought forever, man. Till 21st century. You're gonna love who you want to love, man. Love who you want to love. That's why these women out here acting crazy, man, because they tired of motherfucking men. Get your ass in the kitchen, and which my wife does, but she works, and I don't press her, bro. She knows what she needs to do. I know what I need to do as a married couple, a heterosexual married couple, and but I don't have no right, man, to tell you or see you as how you are, man. You want to be that? You want to have kids early, have kids later, but God bless the children, man. You know what I'm saying? So just be safe out there, people. You know what I'm saying? Like, subscribe. I'm finna get ready to go pick up my lady right now. And I love that motherfucker. Peace.